presentation, I will try to describe you how I attempt to apply the basic principles of self-help in the field of physical health and education as well. The first attempt of applying the basic principles of self-help in the local society of Castellana. That I will present comes from the field of physical health. It would be necessary though to help you understand the connection among three things: Castoria, physical health, and me. It will be easier afterwards to recount this attempt. Castoria is a beautiful city located in northern Greece. It's the city in which I grew up, the city that I left for my studies, and the city in which I returned 8 years after in order to live and work. I lived in Castoria for the last 5 years. I returned there after I finished my bachelor studies in psychology and just before I finished my master's studies in social clinical psychology of addictions and psychosocial problems. My studies in social clinical, my studies in the field of psychology.
I tell him to go slower.
Thank you.
And louder.
And louder.
Okay.
It's all right.
My studies in the field of psychology gave me the very first opportunity to come into first contact with the field of physical health. I did my undergraduate internship in the A.P.Θ hospital, and specifically in the clinic of multiple sclerosis, where I had the chance to meet many patients with different needs and different life attitudes about the disease. During my postgraduate studies, I learned how to deal with physical health and disease through a holistic point of view. My studies were not the only connection with the field of physical health. I grew up in a family where my mother suffered from MS. Multiple sclerosis is MS, so I use this term. She taught me the meaning of concepts such as difficulties, acceptance, and finding ways to carry on. Moreover, during my postgraduate studies, I met a friend who suffered from MS. He taught me what it is like to deal with the disease in an active way and act in order to play needs which are created by MS. My personal connection with MS was 5 years ago when I was diagnosed having MS. At that point of time, a 25-year-old person who was educated in the field of psychology had to deal with a serious illness. The first 2 years after the diagnosis, my mind was wavering among several thoughts. On the one hand, there were thoughts such as I'm not healthy and I will never return to my former situation. On the other hand, my postgraduate studies, where I learned that health and sickness should be considered as two argumentative poles of reality which are moving between life and death. That was the first time I learned about the concept of self-help. The idea of someone receiving help by providing help, of being active through a collective and solidarity frame, seemed excellent at that point of time.
Take a breath. We have a lot of time.
On the one hand, it seemed a natural consequence of the way that I grew up, and on the other hand, it looked like the answer that I was seeking while I was looking for support by people who would understand and would not be necessary to explain by giving unnecessary details. At that time, 2 years later, I accepted an invitation for a voluntary work organization in Castoria to participate as a lecturer to a workshop about MS. Voluntary Work is a non-profit organization which stands for the activation of people in order to offer voluntary social work. The objectives of the organization, its acts and events, and their aim at raising issues of disadvantaged people through the speech of the directly inclusive were enough for me in order to accept the invitation. I thought that the double role of a psychologist and that of a patient would be a good opportunity to share my ideas and knowledge about self-help and my needs as well with other people with similar experiences. And so it happened. My speech included 2 parts, one empirical and one scientific, in which I explained the concept of self-help, the helpful characteristics of such a group, and resumed by making a call for the first meeting. I collected the phone numbers of several people who were interested, so we proceed. The workshop took place in May, and our first meetings took place the following months. A core of 6 people was created, and the meetings took place every week for the first and a half month. More or less 6 to 7 meetings took place on a constant basis, where the main objective was to get to know each other. We didn't set axes or the themes for our meetings, neither the roles of the members nor their responsibilities. The basic core of the group consisted of people with movement difficulties, which had led to an exclusion from their social life. Therefore, in the first meetings, the main objective was to fulfill the need of socialization. We met each week, drinking coffee and sharing our experiences deriving from the diagnosis and treatment that had an impact on our lives. After the first meetings, before we put more technical characteristics in order to form the operation of the group, the form of the meetings changed. The main reason for that was the will of the person who had the idea of the making of the workshop and who wanted to make an association for the people with MS. Therefore, in the meetings that followed, the main purpose was to find at least 20 people in order to create the association with the legal presentation.
Legal stuff.
The next meetings were multitudinous, and the initial core was almost 4 times more. Some people from the initial core did not participate in a systematic way anymore, and the new people varied regarding the course of the disease. The content of the meetings was transformed to a more technical one. The themes included the finding of space in order to house the association, to find sponsors for the cover of fixed posts, seeking ways to take advantage of pharmaceutical companies, etc. The way of how things turned did no longer government basic needs for support from people with similar experiences. Although I had several disagreements, such as the hierarchy and the ghost members that usually exist in such association, the embodiment and all the usual characteristics where 2 or 3 members the most become the leaders and the rest take a pass through. Although I tried to realize the need for the foundation of such an association, my questions were mainly such as why an association, why now, why not being a member of the biggest association or the already existing relevant association in Australia, took an answer that belonged to the logic of fragmentation, that is to claim programs, especially for people with MS.
EU programs. EU programs.
Yes.
European fund.
Even though they were not exactly sure which programs
Yes.
and for which needs, but we need programs. For the above reasons, I decided to keep a distance from the whole Latin, which did not cover my needs, it did not express me neither as a patient nor as a scientist. Nowadays, I try to keep my mind wide open in front of the possibility of meeting people with ideas and dreams close to mine, who are willing to cover my needs through a frame of equal meeting of persons, and who are willing to actively participate in the seeking of answers that MS demands in everyday life. That was my first attempt in the field of physical health, in which I had double role. I'll continue my presentation in the field of education, where I work as a psychologist. I don't have autism too. Maybe.
Yeah.
I've been working as a psychologist the last 3 years in the field of education, and specifically in the field of special education. It is common for psychologists who work in the education area to be specialized in the field of school psychology or special education. I have been specialized in psychology and especially in the course of social clinical psychology of addiction and psychosocial problems. The philosophy of this course of studies is based on the fact that social problems contribute to the appearance of personal problems, whilst the social environment in the organization should not be perceived as stable or static. Therefore, the social environment as place of causality of mental pain is a target of change. The practical appliance of my specialization took place in the self-help promotion program in Thessaloniki. As you may know, this is a recent program of psychology field. Yes. The program aims to promote self-help in dealing with various psychosocial problems and to train health workers in new roles of empowerment and regional support of citizens.
Slower, Maya. Slower. Now I can praise you. My
scientific background, based on the theoretical basis that mentioned above, says the prism through which I confront the rising issues and the way I perceive my role as a psychologist. Our students in special education facing problems that must not be considered as personal problems detached from the social context in which they occur. The rules of special education school units define the responsibilities for psychologists such as student support, family support, and teacher support. My theoretical training leads me to apply the rules aimed to empowerment of stakeholders, sensitization of local community, and smooth integration of students in that community. The principle of the self-help in the field of education that we had this presentation has to do with the attempt to create a parents group with this orientation. The rules of special education school units define the supply of psychological support of families of students with special education needs in a group or individual basis, which includes information about the program and the intervention methods, training for parent-to-child relationship and problem solving at home, guidance on the need for additional medical intervention, and rehabilitation methods. The first year I worked at school, the psychological support took place in an individual basis. We had individual appointments to meet them and set common goals for their children. Goals for the next 8 months, since in Greece the most people who work in education are substitutes, and when they're wandering from school to school. This fact places restrictions on building relationships of trust with both the students and their parents. Therefore, the parents found these appointments procedural, they completed them without being in their order of priority, or absolutely ignored them. Parents of children with special education needs move from specialist to specialist and from therapist to therapist from the time of the diagnosis and so on. We are all of us who nourish the hopes of rehabilitation and normalization. It's the health and the education system that, although in provisions and regulations raises the social model, is basically structured among the medical model disability. Taking into account of this, I decided to arrange the appointments with parents in a different way, different from the way they used to, where the experts have the total authority and parents become passive receivers of proposals, criticism, or hope of restoring damage. The first contact with parents was made through individual appointments. In our meetings, I tried to meet them and listen to their stories from the diagnosis to date. Each of them had different attitudes towards their child's needs and the answers to those needs, but all of them had one common characteristic. Almost all the parents put themselves and their personal needs that created their child's development out from their narratives. All of them sidelined or underestimated the power they have gained through their course and experience of raising their children. So we had a personal appointment with all parents, and after that I sent an invitation to all of them, and something like, let's meet and think about how each of us could be useful for other parents, but also receive the necessary support to be as effective as possible in caring relationship that develops with their children. 8 of the 14 families of 14 parents of the special primary school and special kindergarten of Castellia responded positively to the invitation. Most of them knew each other, since the town is very small and Parents Association is relatively active. The first meeting began with a conversation about the invitation's text. Parents said their opinion on the text and shared their thoughts about that. It's worth noting a question made by a mother at the beginning of the conversation. She asked, will you remain at our school as a psychologist for a long time? Because if we begin group meetings and then you will leave and go away, there's no meaning in that attempt.
Project.
That question gave me the chance to say my opinion on the invitation text, and afterwards suggest that the experts are not always necessary for their support. It also gave me the chance to tell them that if they based on their common experience and its power, they could get support that stems from them and addressed to them too. After that part, the first meeting, a brief presentation on self-help groups took place. The atmosphere around the first meeting was quite relaxed. They seemed to be interested in the previous proposal, and they suggested to get their meetings twice a month. They also asked me to organize the meetings at the room and the invitation post, as long as I will be in their school. From the first meeting, the spontaneous flow of the conversation led to an exchange of experience, and younger parents showed support and answers to our questions from older parents. I committed to take over the organization of the meetings, and so we proceed. I posted an invitation to all families, and we got the second group meeting. 4 parents attended this second meeting, half of them. During that second meeting, we defined the themes of the following meetings, and some general rules, such as not interrupting each other and not offering consultation, but we could just share personal experience in order to help another member of the group. The group has already met 5 times, and we divided the themes into 3 sections: operational issues, social issues, and informative issues. The group consists of 3 mothers whose children attend the special primary school, and 1 father whose child attends the special kindergarten. It is clear that my role is purely coordinating and not therapeutic at all. It's nice to see the comfort of older mothers and their availability to respond through their experience to every anguish that younger dad has. It's also nice to see the younger dad really believe that the meeting and their contact. After their ends, few meetings have been left with me. The good news is that these people met each other and came close. In this way, they developed a supportive network. All of them appreciate the usefulness of their contact, the younger dad and the older mothers as well. Mothers recognize that it would be very useful if they met someone to listen to them and understand them in the beginning of their story. The meetings of the group until now are few, and I hope that parents involved to continue the meetings with happen. Even if it will not be organized now, they can call each other to share joyful or sad news. And if later they will have the need to continue with each other systematically, they can do it. I commit to be in their side and be available for them whenever they need me, whether I will be in their children's school or not. That's the presentation, and before the end I would like to thank the colleagues and friends of Self-Help Promotion Program for their support and guidance to these attempts.
We have around 12 minutes. Comments, questions, whatever. I would like to say, I'm sorry, Kathy, I would like to say that as you might understand,
You're very proud.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would be too.
we are not exactly what we have in mind, colleagues in a formal way. First of all, we are friends, we share common visions regarding psychology, regarding our roles. We found the field of self-help and these radical ideas that it stems, that the field stems from. I don't know. We found a common ground of exchanging ideas, sharing visions and values. We are friends, and later we are colleagues. And in a small country like Greece, it is very helpful because Maria is another. And we have all of these exchange of ideas, etc., making bridges. We made a bridge, Pavlina with Maria regarding the second, regarding the efforts of Maria of establishing and Pavlina is in the role of an educator, of a professional. All these things. We have a great time. Okay, Kat?
Yeah, it just was really fascinating to hear your experience because you went in some ways from a user of support groups to a leader of support groups. So the whole process of just learning and being open was really lovely to see.
And I want to say that the first group, it's very common. It happens in a lot of groups. They are starting with support and they go in other ways. And a lot of them really doesn't stick or cannot find a basic comment to continue. And you should seek some more ways because maybe some of the people there would go with you for the direction that you want. And maybe you can find other people that will help you to.
Yes, I'm wondering if I'll try again inside the association or find other people outside it to try again.
Help her. Afterward, you're the expert.
Yeah. Maria has a unique chance right now to take ideas and supervision from experts from 10 different countries. Julian.
I wanted to say exactly what you said, that this is a very frequent development, that the beginning is like you described, small, informal, personal, etc. And then we have a kind of division, like a road leading to two goals. And there are some people who are more interested in personal, psychological topics, and others want to be activists. In German language, we we make a distinction between inner self-help and outer self-help. If you understand that, it's not proper English, but And for me, it's always important to stress both is okay, both is needed, but it's very difficult to do both in one setting, right? So it's always a subject of my consultation with self-helpers to help them to make a decision to go in which direction. And so exactly, as you said, if your interest is still there to do a more psychological thing, perhaps you can find it inside that organization, or you can find it outside the organization without being an enemy or a rival or whatever. It's just another offer. And some people prefer to go to such a group only and not be involved in any way to these organizations, larger ones, outer self-help. Some go to groups and pay their fee there without anything else, just to support them. Some don't like this everlasting talking. They go there. It's open, but I would like to encourage you not to give up, to follow your personal idea, and at least the minority will be on your side.
Sometimes we suggest them to divide the time. How much time do that? And who wants to stay for the other thing can stay, and so sometimes it can be the same setting in different times. Not to divide the group in two groups, do something in common, and then those doing that, and those doing that. So
division of labor.
Yeah. So it's contained all the people together, and you're not becoming enemies, and you're not falling apart.
I think this way is more appropriate for a small town.
Yeah, because otherwise
To
you
avoid
cannot find enough people to do all. Yeah.
How many inhabitants?
20,000, 20, 25.
I want we have discussed here, Jürgen, is how to reach people when they are isolated and find them. And now you haven't taken that part of how to, and you said that there is an association, it could support you by telling about you. You must inform yourself and ways of working that people find you and feel safe to come. This, I think, is use word social marketing or something like that.
Oh.
Yes,
No.
you didn't take it. I know you do it your way also in a smaller town in Germany. You have told it. But inform about your group.
It's a, no. Wait.
Of course.
Αυτό που μου ρωτήσω είναι αν με γνώριζαν από την... Could you please repeat because I'm not sure that I understand?
How you inform your group, self-help group? You had a question. Shall we have this association or you? I think you need cooperation, that they help you in information, and also professionals you need for information that you have this kind of group.
May I translate?
Yes.
How do you inform other people's potential members about the existence of your group? And may I go along?
Thank you very much.
If I may go along with what is done. You mentioned a special hospital for treating multiple sclerosis in your area, is that right?
No, this hospital is in Thessaloniki.
Okay. So is it routine that patients from your area are treated in Thessaloniki?
Not all of them.
Okay.
And not in the same hospital.
Yeah. Okay. So what I was heading to, whether you could create some kind of low cooperation with this hospital or other hospitals or other centers where all the MS patients come together. Because MS is not a rare disease. It's not a rare disease. And even in my personal surrounding, there's another, I must not say girl, it's a young lady like you, who also is affected in a very young age. That is not rare, right? So the natural cooperation partner, as far as I see it, would be these medical institutions where all the patients come together for treatment, and they should find a folder saying this is a group meeting every second Wednesday or whatever.
In Thessaloniki there is a big association about MS, and a thought I had about what you say in Castoria, to have a connection with neurologists and ask them to connect in this topic.
And how about his reaction?
It's a thought.
Sorry?
It's a thought.
Okay, it's not yet done. Okay. But I mean that is a new chapter for the, maybe it's not new, but another chapter in the Greek history. to bring this to these maybe hardcore medical agencies, right? Interact with them. Try to give a tiny little speech like you did here. That's the most convincing thing, you know, not numbers and graphs, but tell them your story. And that's what you can do. And 10 out of 100 doctors will say, wow, that is a good idea. And if I may go on one step, it's important if the doctor does not only pass on a folder with your telephone number to the patient, but that this is subject of conversation between doctor and patient, so that he really encourages, not only pass on the patient.
So,
I have a question
yeah,
for Maria. When we had this talk together, you told me about your plan to meet parents and bring them together in a group. But what about the teachers of the schools, the special teachers? Because the experience we have is that they don't cooperate. They don't think normal.
Teachers have no idea what about the attempt. The group takes place in the afternoon, so they don't care what I'm doing.
It's out of their regular program. They don't care. Simply they don't care. That's it.
Doesn't disturb them.
Yes, it's a big problem they have with all teachers in Greece, unfortunately.